Howdy. Welcome to my shop. My name's Ron, and I'll be your host for the next 10 minutes or so. Being a fourth generation carpenter, wood is that's my language. It's my living, it's my hobby, it's my passion. One of those passions is making stocks. I've never had any formal training in this. I just wanted to put a piece of wood on a gun one day, and I seemed like that'd be a pretty unique challenge, so I tried it. And been going at it ever since, but honestly, I owe a lot of my success to my customers, my friends that have suggested this or that, different ways of doing it to produce a better outcome. And so I appreciate them. I owe them a great deal. The finish that I use was suggested by a friend of mine that owns a gun shop in Georgia, a guy named Dan. Been friends with him for many years, and I owe him for that knowledge. So I don't suggest that my way is the only way. That's just not the case. I picked up my abilities to do this from watching other people and seeing other things, and then figuring out how to do that. So it's a process. Some ways are better, cleaner, faster. They require less effort. On and on it goes. And I'm open to learning new and better ways. I'm always looking for that. My grandfather used to say, never let a day go by that you don't learn something. So when I do, I'll often look up, thanks, Pop, because no matter how old you get, you still need to be learning new things. So come on in, see what's going on today. Today I'm starting to work on this 16 gauge. This is a European made Guild gun, and somebody apparently it had a split right here somewhere because they put a bless your heart screw in there, and it sticks out the other side and got a rough edge on it, and there's just no way to really fix that. If it had been in this cheek in here, I have fixed that a few times before where you can disguise it. If you get a screw right there in that cheek, you can, for one thing, you got to make sure where the crack is, but after you fix that, you can disguise that by putting a diamond-shaped piece of wood and then checkering that cheek. Parker's did a fair amount of checkering right on the cheek, and there were some foxes that were actually I fixed a fox that was done that way, and come to find out that foxes actually had some of their cheeks checkered on some of their prettier models, and it's real easy to disguise a diamond-shaped patch with checkering because it's the same proportions as a checkering, 3-to-1. Anyway, this one is not able to fix that screw. It's just bad. It's just ruined. It's also got a buffalo horn type butt pad and grip cap, which the worms have gotten into and chewed them up. So we're going to replace this wood. We're going to replace this with ebony, a piece of ebony grip cap, and probably put a plastic pad on that right there of a similar period. This is a European-made gun, made for use in Europe, made for sale in Europe. This sling mount is really way forward normally of American guns. It's 3 inches from here to here. This is also a 3/4 inch strap on this sling mount, and because of that, and the front one is not there anymore. But anyway, we're going to get to work on this. It's a fine old shotgun. It's got cocking indicators. It locks up pretty tight, and it's just in pretty decent shape other than this. Now the forearm is original, and I'm going to clean it up. I'm going to strip it. I'm pretty sure all of this is European walnut, French walnut. And I'm going to clean this up, and if I can make black walnut match the color of this once it's cleaned up, then I'll use black walnut for this. The customer does not want to pay for a piece of French walnut to go on that. So here we go. These Guild guns rarely have a name on them, but they do have proof marks, and there are volumes and volumes books with pages full of proof marks, and yeah, they're on here too. But you hardly ever see. Actually, this one does have a name. There's something written. This is. Oh, it's just Fustal Krupp. Krupp is the brand of the type of steel. This is Krupp steel, so it's not a Damascus barrel. It's Krupp steel barrel. The proof marks are in here, and it actually has a serial number. Pretty good. Who knows where this guy was made? And we're going to see if we remake it here in my shop. We'll have to get a whole assortment of skinny bladed screwdrivers to get these screws out. They took the time to engrave this screw head that's covered up by the trigger guard. That's interesting. Equally interesting, but there's no screw underneath this release lever. Sure, that gun has more than one screw. Take it apart. Well, maybe not. There's something else. I don't really know what it is. Yeah. It just came undone, but I don't know how. That is a really, really interesting mechanism. And there's two screws hold it together, one in the back, one on the front. There's just not a lot of wood left inside that thing. It's no wonder these old guns fly apart. There's just not much left in there. You got this one little block here that ties that together across this front. That's it. This is all hollowed out. This has got a big slash cut through it, top and bottom. It's a thousand wonders these little guns stay together, and it's not as big as a sneeze across this wrist. Right, I've got all the metal and the screws pulled off this forearm. I'm going to wrap it up in this piece of cloth. I'm going to saturate that cloth with lacquer thinner. And this cloth will hold the lacquer thinner against that, and it'll strip it. And that's about the gentlest way I know of stripping the finish off of something. Because if you use chemical stripper, it's going to be even more harsh than just lacquer thinner. This also will take the grease, the oil. Most guns are saturated with oil, and this will remove that. It will break it down and let me get it out of there, because trying to refinish a gun that's oil soaked like that is really hard. It keeps repelling the finish. It messes with what the finish is supposed to do and the way it dries. So I'm just going to put this up here and just let it sit there and think about it a little bit. While I'm waiting on this lacquer thinner to loosen that finish on that forearm, I'm going to put all the pieces that I took off of this thing down in this diesel fuel. I've got all the forearm pieces removed, but the screws are in the right holes and they're in the right places, so I don't get them confused or I don't lose anything. I'm just going to drop all this metal. Inside this is either kerosene or diesel fuel, which is a real good cleaner. It gets in and gets out grime, and it doesn't dissolve rust or anything like that, but it loosens up real old oil and stuff that gets kind of cruddy, and it'll kind of soak in there and clean that real good. While I'm waiting, there's no point in it not being cleaned. See how the lacquer thinner is doing on this finish here. What I do is take a stiff bristle toothbrush or a brass brush, especially in the checking. Let's see, this is a brass brush, and you can go with the lines of the checking, kind of drag it. You don't want to get real aggressive with it, but just sort of drag it with those lines. And if that finish is loose, it'll come out of there, and the checking will all of a sudden get where it looks like it's a lot deeper. It's very, very worn, very, very flat on top. This gun has got 1,000,000 miles on it. It's hard to get steel wool to absorb lacquer thinner, but maybe if I can just get it to touch it. Get that finish to rub off of there. I may end up having to soak it in acetone. Acetone will degrease. It'll get rid of oil and grease as well as anything that I know. I've got an old Winchester 101 sitting over in acetone right now trying to get the oil marks out of it. There may be just not very much finish on this thing. It might be that there's just none left. I have washed all of these metal pieces, this trigger group and the receiver. I've washed them in kerosene, and I scrubbed them with a soft toothbrush, and then I used a brass brush to just clean out in the little grooves and everything. I got them pretty clean. I'll probably end up doing that again because during the process I'll be smoking these probably, and I'll get them all filthy again. But now that they're really clean, they'll be easy to re-clean. So I soaked it in acetone overnight, which bleached it a little bit, gave it more of the kind of the original color. But I've lightened it up as much as I can. This gun is quite old. Now the problem is the checking is worn so bad that if I try to finish this and then cut the checking, the finish is going to fill up what's left of the little grooves. They're very, very light and very, very worn. Some of them are completely gone. What I'll have to do is take a straight edge. When I go to working on this, I'll have to take a straight edge and run it across from where they are here and where they're not, and then where they are again, and connect those lines and connect those dots, not dots, but lines, and draw them on there one at a time, and take a real fine checkering tool and lightly cut those in there. This side here is the worst. Apparently, the way a person would handle it, as if they were right-handed, their left hand is up there, and apparently the thumb has rubbed all that right there off. So this is the worst area on this side. The rest of it, I can see them. There's some dings that where wood is missing that I can't see them, but it's easily connected across through there. So normally I would finish this first and then cut my checking. This on this in this instance, I'm going to at least locate the lines. I may not cut them completely deep, but at least make them visible where I can find them. And so I'm going to put this forearm on a I don't know what to call this really. It's just what I use to hold things, to put them in my checkering cradle. And this is left over from some other job, but it fits this well enough. I have machined this thing to where it's got little raised areas, and I can slip this. The inside of this is similar to that, and there's a screw hole there that I can use to mount it with. So I'm just going to stick it on there and put this screw back in there. So I'm going to fasten this to it, lightly cut in my checking, and then I'm going to finish this. Once I have put some stain on this and decided what it would best look as an original piece. Then I can figure out what kind of wood, if I got walnut, that I can match to this. Everything keys on this.